Lift and coast procedures are commonly requested across the entire Formula One grid, but in the case of the Ferrari SF-25, there are two primary reasons why this technique is being employed more frequently, and especially on car number 16, driven by Monegasque driver Charles Leclerc. The repeated radio communications from Ferrari race engineer Brian Bozzi to Charles Leclerc, asking him to perform lift and coast maneuvers, have become a topic of both humor and speculation among fans, especially on social media platforms. This is due to the increasingly frequent nature of these requests during almost every Grand Prix. Although such instructions are a standard part of modern Formula One racing strategy and are often given to other drivers as well, the consistency with which they appear in Charles Leclerc's team radio, combined with data from on-track performance, suggests that there are deeper, Ferrari-specific factors at play that differentiate this case from what is seen with other teams. The term lift and coast, frequently abbreviated in the paddock as LiCo, refers to a driving technique that involves lifting off the throttle pedal several dozen meters before reaching the braking point. The driver then allows the car to coast or sail forward for a brief moment before engaging the brakes. During this brief coasting period, the Formula One car is no longer receiving power from the engine, which leads to a dual cooling effect. First, the power unit benefits from airflow at high speed without being under load, allowing it to cool more efficiently. Second, the brake system also experiences reduced stress, since the vehicle enters the braking zone at a lower velocity and with less kinetic energy, thereby lowering peak brake temperatures. In certain cases, such as high-speed segments of a circuit with uneven track surface, dips, or bumps, lift and coast is also used to reduce the risk of the car's floor scraping the track surface. This helps to prevent premature wear of the wooden skid block or plank mounted under the car. Throughout the 2025 Formula One season, Ferrari has utilized the lift and coast technique primarily to protect both the braking components and the plank, depending on circuit-specific demands. During the Spanish Grand Prix, the main reason Ferrari employed lift and coast was to prevent excessive wear on the plank. The instruction was most frequently issued in a specific section of the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, Turn 1, which features high entry speeds and a bumpy surface. Notably, these instructions came predominantly in the latter stages of the race, when the car's fuel load was lighter, resulting in faster lap times and a higher risk of bottoming out due to increased aerodynamic downforce. This objective was subtly supported by comments made by both Ferrari drivers and team principal Frédéric Vasseur, who, after the race, avoided offering detailed answers on the topic, a common strategy in Formula One when it comes to issues like plank wear. All teams tend to remain discreet to avoid drawing unwanted attention or triggering investigations from the FIA regarding components that operate close to regulatory limits. The situation observed during the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg was very different. In this case, the lift and coast instructions were issued at the very beginning of the race when the cars were carrying full fuel loads, thereby generating much more braking force and heat. Team radio communications from Ferrari's pit wall indicated that drivers were instructed to perform lift and coast in all corners of the circuit, highlighting an urgent need to relieve the strain on the brake system. This was later confirmed by Jerome D'Ambrosio, who clarified the brake protection objective in a post-race statement. While managing brake temperatures on a circuit with altitude and intense braking zones like the Red Bull Ring is not unusual, what drew attention was the immediacy and persistence of the instructions, starting even during the formation lap. This, combined with over 2 seasons' worth of similar patterns, media comments from drivers, and visible race behavior, suggests that Ferrari is dealing with a more critical and ongoing issue with brake performance than it has publicly acknowledged. The first major warning related to braking came during the 2024 Bahrain Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc experienced severe front brake temperature asymmetry, which caused the car to veer strongly to one side under braking, a rare and highly problematic issue. Since then, Ferrari has regularly relied on lift and coast during races where brake stress is high. The FIA has conducted several post-race inspections of Charles Leclerc's Ferrari SF-25, including targeted analyses of the brake system after the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix, even investigating the potential use of asymmetric braking systems, although no violations were discovered. Although the FIA claims that Charles Leclerc's car was selected randomly for these checks, there is skepticism regarding the randomness of the selection process. This suspicion arises from the pattern of scrutiny Ferrari has received. In addition, Lewis Hamilton has repeatedly voiced complaints about the Ferrari braking system since the beginning of the 2025 Formula One season. After the Austrian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton once again emphasized that these brakes continue to be a problem. The braking systems on the Ferrari SF-25 are manufactured in partnership with Brembo, an Italian company widely regarded as the global leader in high-performance braking technology. However, this is not merely a supplier arrangement. Brembo offers advanced technical collaboration, but each team, including Ferrari, is entirely responsible for the overall brake architecture, including thermal energy management and brake duct design. This distinction is important because the recurring problems observed on the SF-25 are unlikely to stem from any flaw in Brembo's hardware. Rather, it appears that the root of the issue lies in how Ferrari manages heat within the braking system, particularly how it distributes that heat toward the tires. Every Formula One team strives to redirect heat generated by the brakes, particularly from the front axle, toward the wheel rims to help warm the tires. This is especially critical during qualifying sessions, when drivers have only one outlap to bring the tires into the optimal temperature range, around 100 degrees Celsius, from the 70 degrees Celsius they hold when leaving the blankets. Brake heat is therefore used as a passive method to warm tires without overly stressing them. However, this can create problems during a race if tire overheating becomes a concern. As a result, brake ducts and internal airflow management must strike a delicate balance, providing sufficient heat in qualifying without overloading tires during race stints. In race conditions, Ferrari has generally succeeded in maintaining tire life, even on circuits with high degradation. However, the Maranello team has struggled during qualifying sessions, particularly with the soft compound tires, which have often failed to reach their optimal performance window. This suggests that Ferrari may be using tighter brake ducts to retain more heat, improving tire warm-up in qualifying at the expense of increased brake stress in races, which then necessitates more lift and coast. Charles Leclerc appeared to confirm this scenario in interviews following the Austrian Grand Prix. The Ferrari man explained that in order to extract the maximum performance from the car, it was necessary to apply the lift and coast technique during the race. However, he acknowledged that the team paid a significant price for it, particularly because his preferred car balance did not align well with that approach. The Monegasque driver's words validate the hypothesis that Ferrari has engineered the car to prioritize qualifying speed by harvesting more brake heat, forcing a conservative approach in race conditions, at least in the early stages. Moreover, Charles Leclerc's personal driving style exacerbates the issue. Known for favoring a front-heavy car balance and for using heavy braking to load the front tires on corner entry, Leclerc places extra stress on the front brakes. This makes him more sensitive to the heat management compromise, explaining why lift and coast instructions are more frequently addressed to him than to teammate Lewis Hamilton. These limitations also force Charles Leclerc to alter his driving technique, which can have a measurable impact on lap times. Overall, the impression is that Ferrari is attempting to use brake-generated heat more aggressively than other teams, and that the price of this strategy is a frequent, race-compromising use of lift and coast. As Formula One heads to Silverstone for the 2025 British GP, Ferrari may face fewer challenges in terms of brake temperature. The Silverstone circuit is not particularly taxing on braking systems, and the typically lower ambient temperatures in the United Kingdom should aid thermal management. However, attention will shift to ground clearance and plank wear, especially in the fast-flowing corners that define the British layout. Fortunately for Ferrari, the technical upgrades introduced on the SF-25 at the Austrian GP may prove beneficial in addressing these concerns. If effective, they could limit the team's reliance on lift and coast to only the most extreme and brake-sensitive circuits on the calendar.